guys, welcome back to another bookish video. So today I wanted to give you guys my July wrap up. I don't know why I keep thinking it's July instead of August, so that would make this a June wrap up, but it is August, so we are doing everything that I read in the month of July. As usual, I got through a lot of books thanks to audiobooks. You guys know that's what I do. That's nothing new. So without further ado, let's get started. We'll pretend that works. So first up in the month of July is a book that I didn't even realize I finished at the beginning of July because apparently I don't know what I read, and I did actually physically read this one, so all of that audiobook stuff is null and void for this. But in the beginning of July, I finished Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. I started this book easily about 2 months ago. I originally started this series simply because of the fact that I want to read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and while I've heard from many people that you don't need to read the original Grisha trilogy in order to truly understand Six of Crows, I personally felt like I needed to read this series in order to get into that one. I started Six of Crows and I was very confused on what was what certain abilities were, and it just, a lot of it did not make sense to me, so I felt the need to start these. I got through Shadow and Bone pretty quickly, however Siege and Storm took me forever, and I have yet to start Ruin and Rising. I honestly would love to give you guys a true reason on why this series is taking me so long, but I honestly don't have one. When I pick up these books, I enjoy them, I enjoy what I'm reading, it's interesting. However, once I put the book back down, I no longer have the desire to pick it up and finish the story. It brings to the forefront a lot of reading slumps and just dull moments of reading, and I have so many other things I want to get to that eventually this series will get done. I just unfortunately don't know when that will be. The next book that I read in the month of July is actually 3 separate books, all from the same series, so we'll talk about them all at once. I have talked about this in a lot of my recent videos. I have recently read the Shatter Me series, so in the month of July I got through Unravel Me, Ignite Me, and Fracture Me. Now, I thoroughly enjoy this series. I have said it multiple times in multiple videos that I am very glad I picked up this series, and it is truly something I have been enjoying. This series as a whole sits at a 4.55-star read for me. I love every single part of it. However, out of these, the novella Fracture Me I wasn't that big of a fan of. I understood their purpose and I understand how they fit into the story. However, I just wasn't as interested as I was with the main storyline of Shatter Me. I am currently in the middle of Restore Me, so no spoilers, but I hope to finish this series, especially since the next book has just recently been announced, and I am so excited to continue on in this world. The next trilogy is another book series that I have talked about recently in recent videos, and that is the Nightshade series by Andrea Kremer. She kind of did a Cassandra Clare-esque thing to where this book is the first book of the Nightshade novels. However, it's book 4 in the entire grouping of books, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I read book 1 Nightshade, book 2 Wolfsbane, and book 3 Blood Rose. I enjoyed this series very much. This book had been sitting on my shelf for months and I had yet to touch it until finally one day I decided to pick it up and give it a try, and I instantly fell in love. This series ends up being a 4.5 out of 5 read for me. There are some problematic things within it, however, overall, if you like werewolf-esque stories along with a girl having to decide her future, I highly recommend these to you. Next up on this list is a book that I actually have a whole separate book talk for that I will link down below, so feel free to go check that out if you want to know more of my feelings, and I am talking about Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. I enjoyed this book to no end. I loved every single second of it. I love the dynamics. I did have some feelings that I expressed within my review video, but overall this story sat on that border again between 4.5 and 5-star read for me. I know some people didn't enjoy this nearly as much, and as I stated in my review video, I thoroughly believe that's because of how this this book was advertised, but overall can't complain too much because I really did enjoy it. The next series I read in the month of July was actually in preparation for the Netflix movie that is coming out in August, and that is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. Now, I have had this book on my shelf, however, I have kind of avoided it only because I was never in the contemporary mood. I had misinterpretations of it being very cheesy and girly and just a load of stuff that I'm just not that interested anymore. However, I was pleasantly surprised by this series. I really enjoyed it. It did have some of those typical contemporary moments in it. However, the way they were put forward by Jenny Han made me thoroughly enjoy them. It's not anything too over the top. I will say this series as a whole was about a 3.54 star read for me. This first book is a little bit lower only because Lara Jean in this first book was kind of annoying to me, and what I mean by that is I'm used to reading like Throne of Glass, Sky in the Deep, Nightshade, This Savage Song. I'm used to reading about very strong, independent female main characters, and just to give an example of Lara Jean in this first book, she ends up getting in a minor car accident, and instead of going through the procedures of trying to get everything taken care of, she ends up just sitting on the side of the road and crying until somebody happened to show up. That does not spoil anything. It's a very minor detail. That moment in this story like made me really question if I wanted to continue reading, only because it gave me very bad vibes of like what this story would be about. However, after I pushed through that and got into book 2 and book 3, I absolutely adored it. So book 2 is P.S. I Still Love You, and book 3 is Always and Forever Lara Jean. Now, if there were ever to be a 4th book for this series, I would pick it up in a heartbeat because I have things that need answered, and I don't think they're ever going to be answered because I don't think there's going to be a book 4. Now, for the exact reasons that I stayed away from To All the Boys I've Loved Before for so long is the exact reason why I picked up the next 2 books in the month of July, Catching Jordan and Coming Up for Air. I typed into Goodreads real quick a recommendations of popular contemporaries. Both of these books popped up and I'm very excited. Currently I'm going through the entire 100 Oaks series, which is what these are a part of. Catching Jordan is the first one and I was pleasantly surprised. All of these books in the 100 Oaks series all center around a sport and some kind of romance. These books are fantastic. However, when I started reading them, I believe that they were all independent in that they didn't need to be read in a certain order. So Catching Jordan is book 1, but actually Coming Up for Air is actually the last book. So I actually read the first book, then the last book, and then I discovered that there was actually a series to these and they go in a certain order. So now I'm going back and reading them in the correct order. So that is everything that I have read in the month of July. What did you guys get through this month? Let me know down below. Did we read anything similar? Did you have any recommendations based off of what I've read? I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Be sure to give a like, be sure to give a subscribe, grow this channel. As always guys, stay awesome and I will see you guys next time.